All right, everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to the podcast here. Caleb Taylor alongside Nick Marsh from A1 Angler Development. We've got special podcast coming today talking about some hot topics in the bass fishing world. We're kind of going to shift this podcast into covering some news stories and hearing, some opinions from guys. But, Nick, right now there's a lot of hot topics out there in the fishing world, and especially pertaining to the high school fishing world and right now the collegiate fishing world.
Yeah, there's just a lot of things that have really honestly been getting guys kind of fired up. And, we'll talk a little bit more in depth on some of these things, but, these are issues that, have kind of been happening since, you and I were fishing at Adrian even. I mean, maybe not as drastic as what it is now, but I think guys are finally at the point where they're just kind of fed up with certain things and this is a sport that is very based on, our anglers. Like, if these anglers need a voice, right? And so when some of these companies and organizations aren't listening, guys start getting a little antsy. So
absolutely, and I think it comes with the territory, right? The sport's grown a ton, even since we've graduated, especially since we've been in high school. But if you look back at the college scene and just how things have changed from used to be huge payouts in these college events, and that's one thing that's always been talked about from pro anglers now that used to fish in those events. I mean, you had $100,000 paydays for collegiate national championships. You don't see that anymore, but we have 3 times as many college anglers. So that's always been a point of discussion. But right now, the hot topic is the scheduling and the conflicts that have continued to show up between BASS and MLFLW, and even a collegiate bass a little bit thrown in there. But obviously with BASS releasing their schedule yesterday, once again, for the last 3 years now, there has been a conflict with the BASS regular season event in the spring and an MLFLW national championship. And that's kind of where the animosity is coming from the anglers and even some of the coaches, obviously. Is why. Why is this continuing to happen? Why are they making the anglers choose one or the other when college guys only have so much time in college?
You get 4 years. That's it.
And so many opportunities to try to make it to the next level. So that's the hot topic right now. So
yeah. It's just crazy to me because, I think that some of these organizations, they just forget. They get away from the fact that, like, these guys are in school. You're there to get an education. Like, how am I supposed to do a part-time job, get all my finals done, get my homework done? Oh, and by the way, I got to travel 9, 10, 12 hours to go fish a tournament and then go to another one right after that. And then I get back home for 2 days and then I got to leave again because I have another. It's crazy.
It's a lot for what's supposed to be a college sport focused for college anglers who, are not professionals. They're there at an amateur level. And, like you said, they are in school. Now, one thing I do want to say is none of this podcast, none of what we say is going to be directed at one organization here. That's not our goal of this podcast. The goal of this podcast and this episode is to get opinions from college anglers, from people within the sport, so that way we really know what's going on. We really know how people are feeling, and we can get it out there for other people to listen to and hear the angler side of the story. Because it obviously is something that needs to be said, and the anglers do need a voice, and we think this is a great place to do it.
No, absolutely. So with that being said, we're hanging out at Schultz's shop today over in Ypsilanti, Michigan.
Schultz's Outfitters, yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty sweet little shop. If you guys haven't been in here, you need to come check it out. Jack Hippie, which is one of the Adrian alum, he's done an awesome job alongside Mike Schultz, the owner, to create a conventional side for us bass guys, and they've got some amazing products in this tackle shop. And so if you guys are ever in the area, come check it out. We're hanging out here at the Fall Bass Bash today.
Yep, Fall Bass Bash. We got a lot of college anglers in the house, a lot of high school anglers in the house. Nick and I work with young high school anglers now in the summers. That's what we've done. I help coach the Adrian College Bass team. But right now we are sitting with one of the guys who kind of spearheaded this whole controversy, who said, I'm going to open up the dialogue about this. I want to post something. And that's your 2021 BASS College National Champion, Hayden Scott from the Adrian College Bass team. So Hayden, maybe just introduce yourself about who you are, where you come from in fishing, and then we'll hop in and get your opinion on this this topic.
Thanks, Caleb. Thanks, Nick, for having me on to talk about this topic. A little bit about myself. I grew up in Saline, Michigan, competed in the Michigan Bass Nation, and was able to do well enough to advance myself into collegiate fishing at Adrian College. And throughout my last 2 years, I'm going into my junior year, I've been able to really just make a name for myself in the college sport and college industry. And there's just been a lot of stuff going on for a long time. And I know from going to different tournaments around the country, you get to know so many different people from different schools. And there's just been issues in the sport for quite a while now. And just there's been an overwhelming standpoint of what's going on. And I've had enough of just taking away these opportunities. Like we said, we have 4 years to try to advance ourselves, to try to get to the next level. And it's not an easy thing whatsoever to do.
Well, and on top of that, besides all that, I mean, you look at a lot of other, college sports, and Caleb, you and I were kind of talking about this. These guys that are, say they're playing, D1 basketball, a lot of them are getting money from outside sources, from endorsements sometimes, or whatever it is. They have a way to kind of subsidize their bills and pay for things. A lot of college fishing, these guys, I mean, unless, your family's kind of fronting the bill, a lot of these guys don't have money coming in. I mean, they're paying for a lot of this stuff out of their own pocket. And, granted, I get it, Hayden, you go to Adrian, so obviously a lot of those things are covered from the school being in a varsity program. But a lot of these other guys, they don't have that luxury. So you're talking they're traveling, 2-3 weeks out of the semester, paying out of their own pocket. And on top of that, now they're doing all their homework. Like I said, their finals, and now we have scheduling conflicts. It's like, I mean, it's a nightmare for some of these guys outside of just your position. So
For sure. And so, to kind of set the scene here again, Bass released their schedule. Supposed to be released Monday. We kind of got word of it yesterday. So let me go ahead and go over that schedule for 2022. If you don't know, the Bassmaster College Series has 4 regular season events, a wild card in the national championship. So for 2022, the season starts off January 20th through 22nd, Harris Chain of Lakes, Leesburg, Florida. The next tournament, March 24th through 26th, Lake Norman in North Carolina, which is the conflicting event with the MLFLW National Championship. And then April 21st through 23rd, Norfolk Lake. June 9th and 10th, Saginaw Bay. A shout out to the home state coming back up to Michigan. We love to see that. That's an amazing fishery. Wild card, June 17th and 18th, Logan Martin. And then the national championship will be announced later. So, the other side of this scheduling is all of these series have obviously front-loaded their schedules heavily into the spring, which for my high school anglers that I work with, after being in college and seeing that, I always tell them, hey, guys, when you get in college, you need to load up your falls because the spring is nuts. Yeah. But over the last 2 to 3 years, it has become increasingly – I mean, I looked at the schedule. I told Nick this morning, I mentioned it to some of the Adrian guys. There are 6 events in the last 8.5 weeks of school. College events in the last 8.5 weeks.
Which is crazy.
Which is absolutely insane is for juniors and seniors, and to have capstone projects, finals, going into all that and expecting to come out with a good GPA is a lot to ask for these college anglers who they want to fish, right? And so, Hayden, maybe if you want to touch a little bit on that. You're a current angler. Is that the sense you get from other anglers? Is that how you guys feel? What is the stance from college anglers coming from an angler perspective on how front-loaded the schedule is in the spring?
Yeah, it really makes it virtually impossible. Like, there are so many people, and I'm thankful enough to go to Adrian, where a lot of our travel expenses are paid for. But what a lot of people don't see is all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Like, I work 20 to 30 hours a week. I drive an hour to go to work, an hour back. And to try to do that in a schedule that we have when I'm gone for weeks at a time is virtually impossible. Because once you go on a road, if you don't have a job that's willing to work with you and be able to balance that, school, work, like there's nothing you can do about it, and there's nothing you can do to afford those expenses that you incur being on the road. So you can pretty much wipe out half the schedule in the springtime because you can't do it. It's either one or the other, not both. So when you have a whole entire summer where there's no college events scheduled, this could easily be avoided by just adding 3 or 4 of those events into the summertime, where a lot
For
more
sure.
people are able to balance both.
Well, and that's
also for school.
what I don't understand is, all these, they're front loading all these schedules, like Caleb was saying, but it didn't used to be that way. Like I swear, and maybe I guess I have to look back at all the dates, but I remember a lot more events when I was in high school in my first couple of years of college that were in the summer. I feel like in the beginning, it was like beginning of summer, there were definitely a few events, and then towards the end of summer, there was always a few events. So
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to that and why they got away from that, but it's clearly it's not working for the anglers. I mean,
it's a lot for the anglers. The coaches have presented these views for a couple of years now, just about how it seems like there's an utter lack of regard for the anglers' livelihoods, for their schooling, and really just these organizations basically saying, not putting words in their mouth, but it looks like they're saying you're going to have to pick. You're going to have to pick which opportunities you want, who you want to fish for. And as I said, as an amateur in college, you don't want to have to pick. You have 4 years to make the most of yourself, paying no entry, very little entry fees for guys.
It's pretty evident of it too.
What's that?
Of just both organizations just trying to hash it out and through our college series.
Yeah.
Like it's evident of it at different levels. Like it's evident of different levels. Just trying to schedule events on top of each other as far as Red Crest and the Classic, that whole debacle right there.
Right.
But it's just when it's affecting us anglers and allowing us not to be able to compete for all these coveted titles in our sport, and it affects us.
I mean, it's kind of like you said. I don't know if anyone's seen the post that he put out. If you guys are listening to this, you can get on his Instagram page. What's your at?
Yeah, so under hayden.scott.fishing, you can find the post that really what started this podcast is when the schedule came out. I voiced my opinion using my platform on social media to try to reach out and speak on behalf of college fishing as in the anglers.
Right.
So
you said, like I remember specifically in that post, your biggest thing is, hey, I just want as many opportunities as possible to fish. And that's what every college angler wants, right?
Right.
You just want to fish.
And it's not like this is the first time this has occurred. It's the third year now where there has been a tournament that's either right on top of it or within the same week, which we all know that if you're traveling to an event, especially a national championship, I mean, you want a day of travel. You want your practice. You want your rest. You don't want to be, oh, my gosh, I got to get up.
Yeah.
I got to leave from this weigh-in, drive from North Carolina to Oklahoma or Oklahoma to North Carolina, whatever it is.
Hey, Caleb, can you drive? I got to try and do some of my homework while we're getting there.
Yeah, we've been gone for a week already.
Sure, are the events not right on top of each other? Yeah, but I think, they're kind of missing the point that, dude, how am I supposed to make class in that week? And why can't this event be in a summertime or in a more lenient period? It just seems like that the anglers haven't been heard completely, because I feel like if they had been heard, the anglers and the collegiate coaches, this wouldn't have been an issue for the third year in a row.
Right. And I mean, to me, it's just, and I guess this is just the way I see things, it would be so much better as a college angler for it to be in the summer, like mid, late, whatever. I don't care. Just sometime when school's not happening. That way I can go, I have got my national championship. This is the biggest event. This is when I can qualify for the bracket. I could possibly make it to the Classic, or, hey, I'm if I win this one, me and my partner are going to the Cup. I mean, I want as much time to practice and focus on that event. I don't want it to be like, okay, I got to finish these 3 finals. I got to reschedule these couple. And then, oh, yeah, that's right. I got to leave by this time to get there, so I have this much time to practice. I mean, it's like, it's a nightmare. It's like, then you're just scatterbrained the whole time, and it's like, it sucks.
It's a lot, and it's just been a, the voice has been smaller, and then it's gotten larger and larger, and obviously now this is kind of seems like a tipping point for, hey,
change needs to happen.
A change needs to happen, because a percentage of these college anglers are not being heard, and they are really tired of not feeling like they're not heard. I get it. The organizations do have most of the leverage because, hey, they're the ones that provide the opportunities. But to a point, it seems like that they may have stepped over a line. And, we've seen it before where organizations outside of fishing, they forget who their customers are. They forget that the anglers are who they're catering to, or that show up to their events and fish. And it's not the first time that's happened within a fishing organization. I mean,
Right.
we've seen exodus from certain organizations to go fish and start other organizations, and that whole reason is because, from what I've understood, is that anglers didn't have a big enough voice.
Correct.
So I think, that's what we're trying to give here is, hey, Hayden, and we're going to have on other collegiate anglers that have something to say, that have said, here's how I feel about this, here's what I want to say. We don't want to be combative.
Right.
But please, listen.
Yeah, this is not supposed to bash any of the organizations. This is more of we just want to hear what guys have to say. So I guess to get a little more on that, like what's the response so far since you've made that post? I know it's been recent, but like what kind of response, good and bad, what have you gotten so far?
Yeah, I mean, I knew coming out, if I said just bashing one organization for actions that they did, that isn't what's going on. I made the post just to bring awareness to the situation and all the issues at hand. And I just want to say, like, it's not towards Major League Fishing. It's not towards bass. Right. Like, all the opportunities that each organization has given us as anglers has allowed us to be able to voice out. But when you don't listen to us as anglers about the situations at hand, that's when the problem arises.
Right.
Because I get it if it's just 1 year you schedule on a regular season event on top of a national championship. That's a coincidence. 2, okay, I can still see it. But 3 years in a row, it's really hard pressed for me to really dig deep and be like, this was a blatant accident.
And that arises kind of a bigger issue is, why aren't these organizations working together at all to care about the anglers? I know, in one of the comments, a bass representative said, why is it always bass that should be reaching out to MFLW? And that's not the case. It's not what I don't think anybody's trying to say that. We're just wondering, why has this been a problem for 3 years and you guys can't get together, either side, and work it out? There's 52 weeks in a year.
It's simple. Someone could be a hero real easy in this situation, I mean...
And I know there's probably things we don't see.
Right.
That
like
that
their
happen.
jobs are bigger than what we know,
and we
still,
understand that.
Not denying
but
that.
you're not. But they're missing the point that, hey, we do have an issue with this. How are we going to address it going forward?
Yeah.
Not that just this is how it is, guys, and this is how it's going to be, and you guys don't understand, because that's not cutting it anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the point where these anglers are at is saying,
Sure.
dude, I'm a college guy. I'm in college. You're front loading the schedule. I have so many tournaments, so much travel, and on top of that, I worked hard to qualify for that national championship, and now I got to pick.
And going back to what we were talking about, like the overall support and like what everybody like said following that post. Since I posted it, there have been people from both sides arguing as far as like this isn't one organization's fault or the other. And I responded to each and every person, just viewing my point as in this wasn't the point of the post, was to point fingers at anybody.
Right.
But the overwhelming thing that I've gotten so far in the last 9 hours, I want to say, since I posted the post, is I've had over 73 people repost it, put on their stories as far as college anglers, pointing fingers on it and writing a message as in, go watch this is an issue, or hey, you guys need to check this out, as far as the sport itself. Right. And the other thing that I got from it is I've had, I want to say 3 or 4 high schoolers put it on their stories also. As far as there was one in particular that I read that was like, this kid is trying to make an effort to try to help me when I make that jump into college fishing.
Oh, 100%.
And that right there was a message of like, this is a bigger picture than just my 4 years.
Right.
Like, this is down the line.
This is, like I said, I mean, this was kind of it was a slight issue, probably my second, third year, I think it was, in school where, all of a sudden, like, more and more, events were being scheduled. Now it's like things are tight. I remember there was, when it was in the summer, though, I'm pretty sure. I know it was. We camped, Caleb. Where were we?
We were at Wheeler State Park. We camped. We had the FLW National Championship followed by the Collegiate Bass National Championship.
And there was something else, wasn't there?
And there was, I think, maybe an FLW divisional event or something. I mean,
we were on the month.
We were on the road for a month.
On the month for a road. Yeah, good English. No, we were on the road for a month. Yeah, so. You look at how that laid out. If it hadn't been in the summer, which is kind of what's happening now, it's crazy talk. So, it is more of, it's not just a college thing. It is for the high school guys coming up now. This is something that it can't continue. This is, like you said, the third year in a row. It's not a coincidence. Like, just someone needs to work together here. That's all I'm saying.
Yep, and the anglers just they need a voice. They need to be heard, and not just through a social media post. I mean, really, what needs to happen is Bass, MLFLW, Collegiate Bass. They need to come together and say, "You're right. We need to listen to the anglers some more." And let's sit down and talk about it. Yeah. Not on a comment section on a social media post, because that isn't going to fix it.
No.
We want to sit down. The anglers want to sit down and have a meeting and say, look, here's what's important to us. Mm-hmm. Here's what's causing us issues that the majority of college anglers agree upon. How can we meet in the middle? How can we come together?
I want to have those conversations with anybody who is willing to listen. Like, if I can sit down or dial up a phone number for somebody in charge that will actually be willing to hear my opinion, and they can speak their opinion, I'm not going to bash anybody that's going to sit there and tell me the truth. Mm-hmm. And I'm just asking for the same thing in return, that somebody else could speak back to me and listen to my point. Yep. But this post was something to bring light to a situation. And the fact of the matter is, if nobody keeps traction and nobody even pushes it towards the organizations to put pressure on them, it's just going to fall on the wayside, and everybody else is not going to even know anything even happened. So Absolutely. That's the biggest thing there.
Yeah, I mean, the anglers definitely have to be united to an extent, because, to see real change. I mean, like I said, the organizations do have the leverage, the upper hand. Unfortunately, it's pretty lopsided. I mean, like I said, you're a college angler, you have 4 years. So let's just say you guys want to make a point, so you're not going to go to events.
Yeah, I mean, it hurts you.
That's a year of events that you aren't going to get to fish, and an opportunity. Yeah. I mean, BASS, MLFLW, they know that. Yeah. So they have the leverage, and that's where it's like, come on, guys. Yeah. Like, we don't want to have to not come to your events to make a point.
Yeah.
But it might get there.
Because at the end of the day, these events are huge as far as like marketing and building our brand. Because I know if I don't build the relationships here in college through opportunities, I'm probably not going to be able to make that jump right out of college fishing to go into the Opens and go into the Toyota Series like everybody's promoting, that you go to college, you can afford that next jump. Yeah. Well, the harsh reality is, if you don't make those relationships in college as far as like building your brand to get those sponsorships later on to pay for those Opens and Toyota Series entry fees, I'm going to be back working for, who knows, 10, 15 years, and I might never come back to the sport. So You're losing those customers through that. So if you're not allowing us to get as many opportunities through here to try to build ourselves and build our brands in a professional manner, then it just hurts us.
It does. It hurts us, and it hurts the sport overall, as far as numbers and really talented anglers that want to compete and have that chance to move on. So, this has been great. I mean, this, like we said, the whole point of this is to give the anglers a voice. I think Hayden did a great job of explaining the situation in his post on Instagram, so you guys should all go check that out. And we'd love to hear some feedback and other opinions, and we're gonna bring on some other college guys to get their side of it.
Yep.
And just so there's some weight behind this.
There's a couple other floating around the shop here, so we'll go wrangle a few up and see what they have to say.
Yeah, we appreciate it, Hayden.
Yeah,
thank both of you for letting me come on this podcast and voice my opinion about this issue, and just give me a platform to just voice this issue that's going on out there. So I appreciate both of you.
No, I mean, it's
get on here.
It's been needing to happen, and like I said, it's been going on for a while. So we're glad to kind of help however we can, and we just want guys out there being heard, fishing, and keep this sport growing and getting higher,
moving in the right
competitively, all of
direction.
it. Yeah,
right? I mean, it's a sport we've all been in for a long time now. We was trying to make careers in the industry, and we want to see things moving forward in a positive light.
Exactly.
So, really appreciate it, Hayden. Thanks for your time. 2021 College BASS National Champion from Adrian College.
That's right.
Congrats.
Thank you. Appreciate
keep it going, man. All right. Well, 2022, we'll look for a repeat.
Watch out.
Fair enough.